It's podcadzo.
Radiohead is dumb.
Boo.
Boo.
Tom York. Boo. Tom York's pro-Israel. Staunchly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Johnny Greenwood that's pro-Israel, and then Tom York is just kind of backing up the homie.
Either way.
Is he actually?
Well, Johnny Greenwood's wife is Israeli.
Oh.
Which I guess, but still, that's
So
you could be from you could be from Israel and still
not agree with what they're doing.
Yeah. I saw a clip of Roger Waters because Roger Waters has been pre-Palestine for like decades, and he said he had an email exchange with Tom York about it, and he was just like, he is just the biggest douchebag in the world, basically. He's like, he was so pompous in his responses, and he's just like, okay, well, that's enough talking to this guy.
I mean, I don't think hilarious. Tom York's known for being like a bubbly, friendly, outgoing guy.
No, or a guy that ever would admit that he's wrong about something or change his mind about anything.
Yeah, changing your opinion indicates that you made a mistake. So
yeah, and he's never done that. So
definitely not.
Nope.
Yeah, Roger Waters, I feel like he's the number one dude where like old conservatives are like, how about we keep the politics out of it and just focus on the music?
He was one of the OG. John Lennon too, but
yeah, John Lennon
was a prick about it. So,
but Roger Waters is kind of a little bit of a prick about it too.
Yeah, he does like a bunch of like anti-Trump diatribes at his shows and stuff.
He's just less of a hypocrite, as far as I know. Where John Lennon was like, it's like, imagine that you didn't beat your wife so much, John Lennon.
All right, so welcome back to podcadzo, everyone. We got Julian, we got Connor, we got me. We're doing a pod.
Am I on back-to-back episodes?
Yeah, back-to-back. We didn't get one out last week.
Huge.
I should have, but
didn't we have one in the vault?
I had banked that, but I wanted to put that out after. We're gonna do like a whole album release episode with Benson, which, you know, spoiler to the listeners.
Stay tuned
to that.
Whoa, stay tuned. A little Easter egg.
We referenced the album release episode that we never did in the banked episode, so I couldn't really put the banked app out before that one in good conscience. And then I had a pretty screwy week.
It wouldn't make timeline sense.
No, exactly.
But didn't you just do that?
What do you mean?
Didn't you just reference it in this one?
Well, yeah, I'm comfortable getting a little bit more meta here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Having both episodes in context now.
Oh, fair warning. I should have said this before we started the pod. It says it is a little earlier here. If my work phone rings up, I'll have to get it. So fair warning. But
you have a job?
See, in theory, that I'm hired to
only
do a job.
Only if you answer the phone.
Only if I answer the phone, yeah. But luckily, I'm not very good at it, so it doesn't ring that much.
Really frees up a lot of time.
Yeah, it's actually great. The less work I do, the less work I have to do.
I had a screwy week last week, though, because I was driving into Fort Collins on Monday to go into the office, and my car broke down on the side of the road. On the side of the highway on I-25 at like 7 a.m. The clutch went out on my Subaru.
Oh.
And it was a whole ordeal.
Never heard that one before.
Yeah, it kind of threw a wrench into my whole week.
Do you want to buy my car? I'm going to sell my car.
What kind of car do you have?
A 4Runner.
Oh. Ooh. I know you're for a runner. I actually am looking specifically at Toyota.
I got a newer one.
I think I've seen like pictures of it.
Oh, the 2015, the white one.
Yeah,
the black wheels. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of.
It's
a 2015.
It's a 2015.
How much you selling it for?
I'm gonna try to get 30 for it. Oh, I know the market on 400s is crazy, but I paid 30 for it like 2 years ago, and I've put like
I have a 2015
no
Tacoma.
miles on it. Oh, yeah. Well, I bought it when I still lived in Steamboat, because I had like a 98 4Runner that exploded. And then, so I was like really anti-car payment, and I had like 2 cars shit out on me in like 6 months. like 2 beaters, and my mom was like, maybe you should just get a car payment. And I was like, all right, fine. So I bought like my dream 4Runner, and 2 months later, I got this job in Santa Barbara, and they gave me a car. So it literally, I took it out the other day for the first time in a while, and I was like, this thing is literally dusty. Like, it is not being driven, and I'm making car payments on it, and I don't have to pay for gas in my company car, so it's kind of probably just get rid of it.
But that's wise. I'm interested, but I probably won't drive to California to pick up the 4Runner. So we have gotten together today not to only talk about cars, but to talk about our year in music, really. Our Spotify/Apple Music Wrapped 2024. We're at the end of the year now. Those figures have come out. We've shared some of that information over Instagram, over social media, as everybody does. But, you know, obviously, it's for us 3 guys, it's worth doing a deep dive into.
We're gonna get into the nitty gritty.
Into the nitty gritty details, adding some color commentary. You know, it's one thing just to share it on your story, but it's another thing to do potentially like a 2-hour episode on it.
I have this like emotional roller coaster every year when Wrapped comes, where it's like, I'm not going to post this on my story because no one actually really gives a fuck. But then I see everybody else do it, and I'm like, well, surely me just throwing mine on top of everyone else's won't bother anybody. But then as soon as I do it, I feel like I'm bothering people by putting it out there. So
I'm pro people doing it. I'm interested in seeing it. I judge people a lot. I love to judge people. I'd be like, oh, wow. NPC music taste.
Yeah.
That's why I did the TikToks I've been doing with the vinyl check. Like the vinyl for vinyl, where I've been going through my vinyls. You saw that, right?
Yes, they're wonderful.
And I just started doing that because I saw a few of them, and they were all like people doing their whole collection. And it was like 15 vinyls, and it was just like, clearly I'll purchase at Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I got to show these fools what's up. And
you've inspired me to do one. I just haven't gotten around to filming it yet. I was going to do one this weekend, but
it's pretty fun to do. I'm not getting a ton of traction on them, but that's okay.
I love it. You have a really good collection. There's a lot. You had a lot of vinyl I was jealous of.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I could probably do a few more. I think I've done 3. I'm probably halfway through.
Oh, I've only seen part 1.
I've done a couple more. I only tagged you guys in the one that I used the Podcadzo song on.
Yeah, thanks for using Target Market. I was hoping that would start a trend of people showing their vinyl to Target.
I was going for. I mean, that's the video that has the most views of all of them. So it could happen.
I'll say the song fits what you're doing pretty well.
I'll just say I hope you find your Target Market.
Yeah, me too. Oh, because of the song. Because of the song. No, it's the song.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week for another episode.
Yeah, this was a good episode. Good app.
Solid.
I feel good.
And then we're gonna do top 10 albums of the year.
Yeah.
So what's on the docket today is we're going to, I think, just review our Wrapped. Oh, what I was going to say real quick is about people posting their rap on Instagram. I feel like the trend for like the last 4 or 5 years before this year was just people hating on everyone posting their rap. And I feel like people really eased up on this year.
I think that's why I always feel bad, because it's like I see other people getting hated on, but then when I actually post mine, it's just like, it gets no traction. People like, just don't really.
What else is social media for other than being like, hey guys, here's the music I'm into and interested in? I think it's a wonderful thing.
That's fully where I'm at. Like I posted a song in my story last night. Nobody responds. Whenever I post a song in my story, I'm like, I don't care if anybody cares.
Oh, was it that Turnpike Troubadour song?
Yeah,
I listened to that today. It's a good song.
Oh, it's not like a new one in my repertoire.
No, yeah.
It just came on last night and I was jamming. I was a couple high lifes deep. I was jamming to it.
That's another thing.
I should have liked your story because it's perfect. It's something I hadn't heard in a long time. Like I hadn't thought of that band in a while. I was like, oh yeah, this song or this album, I'll throw it on. Unless
It's a good point. Just noting, like, even if people don't engage with it on social media, they're probably still gonna go check out the song or whatever. That's what I always do. Like, someone that I like, or if I respect their musical opinion, if they post a song on their story, I'm 9 times out of 10 gonna go check it out. I might not say anything to them, but yeah.
I also feel like my Instagram, I have like 400 or 500 followers, if that. Like, it's a small-ish circle, so like I don't really care. I'm not like throwing it out to the whole world. Like, I got like 5 to 10 people who will like consistently respond, and like I'm like, that's enough for me to keep posting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And we had this thing with like Twitter or even Instagram back in the day where like people were just hating on people, posting what they had for breakfast or posting a selfie of themselves. And people got bullied out of that behavior on Twitter. And now look at what Twitter is. It's an absolute like, this is better what Twitter is now than
it's either this or white supremacy. So
yeah, exactly. Let's
get on board with the Spotify.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like that's what I want on social media. I'd go there like, oh, here's a nice selfie of a friend I haven't seen in like 5 years. Cool.
To be fair, something else happened to Twitter as well that may have hiked up the white supremacy and stuff. But,
what happened to Twitter?
I don't know. I think somebody bought it or something, and like,
there was some sort of
turned it into a right-wing hellscape and got rid of all the monitoring
with that.
You know who should buy it and fix it is Elon Musk. I bet he could really turn it around.
Elon Musk is so cool.
Yeah,
I love him.
He's my guy. Electric cars, man, space. That's my guy.
He's buddies with DJT, our boy, our collective boy.
He's dark MAGA.
Yeah,
he's not just MAGA.
Oh my God, I saw a dude. We were in Mammoth over Thanksgiving. Went up with my brother and his girlfriend and mooched off all their Mammoth connections. And we were at like this local bar, and it was pretty packed. And there was a dude in a dark hat. It wasn't a black MAGA hat. It literally said dark MAGA on the hat.
But it was red?
No, it was black. But it's dark MAGA.
If it was red, then that would be a whole other level of.
But Connor said it wasn't black. So I was thinking it was a standard MAGA hat.
It wasn't like
dark MAGA.
I think the hat he said it was a black it said "Make America Great." Was an Elon hat.
It was just all black.
And he said, "It's not MAGA. I'm dark MAGA." And but this guy's hat said "dark MAGA," and he was at the bar. We were at the bar for like 2 hours, and he was there the whole time. And I didn't see him interact with one person. I don't think he was there with any friends. I literally think he just went to the bar, like waiting for somebody to say something about his hat. And everyone just ignored him the whole time and made fun of him behind his back.
He's super dark MAGA for that.
Yes. Yeah. That was an on-brand move for a guy in a dark MAGA to not have any real friends.
He probably had a gun somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
That's his friend. So that counts.
He's never alone.
That's true. It's for protection, guys.
So there's a lot of ways we could approach this. Do you guys want to do a review of our Spotify Wrapped / Apple Music Wrapped first, and then get into the top albums?
I vote that's the move. Yeah, I vote we just go in a circle and hit off each Wrapped, and then also I think it's worth. I don't really have anything prepared, but I think it's worth a brief discussion on what the fuck happened with Wrapped this year too, because like it was weak as fuck. And also like we kind of talked about it in our group text a little bit, but like my stats for Spotify is like wildly different from my Wrapped, and I just kind of wonder how that's possible.
Mine wasn't that different. It was a little different, but like overall, like U2 was in my stats, but it wasn't on my Wrapped. That would seem like a big omission, but if you looked at like the top 10 artists on both, like it was basically interchangeable.
Mine was like super different.
I heard some people say theirs were like crazy different, but I mean, I think AI is likely to blame here.
Probably. Yeah, I haven't done too much research apart from what you've told me.
One of my genres, it was like, you told me part of it. You posted that thing on your story about how like they fired half their staff, but
yeah, they definitely did that.
You could just tell by the genre. Like one of my genre names was like bougie football rap. Like that is an AI ass genre name if I've ever heard one. What the fuck is bougie football rap? What does that even mean?
It doesn't mean anything. It's like they just took 6 words and crammed them in together. Yeah.
Football rap.
I couldn't even possibly
feels racially charged.
It definitely feels like it's probably offensive to some group of people.
That's the problem with AI. As soon as like you actually scale out AI on anything, it becomes really racist.
That's like a thing. That's like a real thing that they found with like the
they had just shut down tests. Like back before Elon bought Twitter. They like rolled out the first Twitter AI bot, and it like immediately tweeted the N-word and then shut it down.
And
if it's just pulling from stuff that's on the internet, then like duh, right?
It was being trained on.
Or you ever like see the Google AI answers? Well, they'll just be wrong.
Yeah, it's straight up wrong.
I can't believe they like have that like out still because it's just like blatantly wrong.
Yeah,
and pouring everything into it,
or just unhelpful.
It just contradicts itself a lot. Like if I change my wording slightly asking a question, then it will completely contradict the response that it gives me from its previous one, which doesn't help people that are really fucking stupid, which is most people who are Googling like basic stuff on the internet.
I just remembered, I was trying to think of the unhelpful Google AI I had recently. Is we were talking about Mexican Train. Did you ever play that game, Mexican Train?
The domino game?
Yeah. And we were trying to, because like the people whose house we're at for Thanksgiving, they're like, we don't call it Mexican Train. And we were trying to figure out if Mexican Train was racist or not, like the name. And I Googled, why is it called Mexican Train? And the Google AI was like, the train in the middle is called the Mexican Train. That's why it's called Mexican Train. Like, thanks, Google AI. You cracked. But I did figure out it is kind of racist because it was a game that a bunch of Cubans used to play, and people thought they were Mexican, so they called it Mexican Train. So, a little bit racist.
Troubling. Yeah, it's problematic. And the Google AI thing is ridiculous because, like, the Google search engine was really useful. Like, and the Google AI is like, it's just a search engine that's shittier than a normal Google.
They had it pretty dialed in, I would say.
We just need to stop. Like, what we have now is good enough.
I've never seen so much money poured into something that there is so little demand for.
Yeah.
I haven't met one person who's like, I love AI, it's great, I want more of it.
No, it's just a self-perpetuating circle jerk of tech bros.
But I also have this like...
But also billionaires laying the puzzle pieces for the future when AI is useful and does replace a shitload of jobs. And
I have this kind of scary conspiracy theory in my head that there are people out there who have a really smart version of AI and that they're just showing the shitty AI to the public so that we think AI is shitty and we're not scared of it. And part of me deep down thinks that maybe there's actually scary, super useful AI out there that's going to ruin us all.
I think that you're actually like straight up right about that. Like what the public thinks AI is, as far as like generating videos or like writing your essay for you or your Google responses, like that is the version of AI that we see and think about most of the time. But there is a whole other version of AI that is very rapidly developing, and there's a lot of money being thrown at it specifically for purposes that, like medical purposes, which is great, but then also like job replacement or even media replacement, whatever it might be.
Being used to deny medical claims.
100%.
I actually meant to bring that up at the start of the sodas, a topical thing we could riff on. Do you guys have...
the murder
of the CEO, and the fact that they found Luigi yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Got ratted out on. But this feels like almost our generation's OJ in a way, of like the whole nation being like so invested in a crime like this, and like it's different from OJ where like everyone is unanimously behind Luigi.
Yeah.
As the country was very split on OJ, obviously. But like people glued to the news, like 24-hour news cycle being about a high profile crime like this. It's quite interesting.
I want to. What do you think the over under is on a Netflix documentary coming out on it? Like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Dude, they shit those things out so
they really
fast,
do,
man.
Yeah.
I see documentaries on like sports. They had one on the Michigan cheating football scandal, which happened.
I saw that. Yeah.
It came out like 6 months after it happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do we even know everything about this yet?
That was like an untold one, right?
Yeah, those have kind of gone downhill.
Those are really, I know. The first couple ones they did were good. But
yeah. And now just anything Netflix original content wise is just like all about profit margin and zero fucks given about actual quality or integrity.
There's zero QA on Netflix anymore. But it's really fascinating, like how we are so united on this murder.
It's funny, that like the left and the right are all like, fuck this guy. But then like one side, not to get political, it's like, you guys just voted for the guy who's going to do absolutely jack shit about like everything this United Healthcare CEO guy did was legal. That's the overarching problem is that you shouldn't have been allowed to.
That dude 100% voted for Trump because he's going to get the most leeway with Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's going to deregulate
corporate governance. Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
anyways,
that's my main thoughts is that it's funny that everybody, and it's good to see everyone like united, but it's also the irony of seeing people who voted for Trump, like being like, yeah, fuck this healthcare CEO. And it's like, it's like, I don't think you looked at that much into what you voted for, buddy. Cause
they never do.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw like Trump in the little interview that he did over the weekend. I think it was 60 Minutes. Or it was some news program, but
I didn't see it.
They followed up with him on his concept of a plan for healthcare, and he literally said that he said there might never be a plan. She asked him like, "Do you have a plan now?" And he's like, "I might never have a plan." And it's like,
shocking.
Yeah, who thought? People that thought that the ACA was ever going to go away. If it was going to, it would have in the first term, but it took us over 40 years to get there to begin with. It's not just going to go away in one Trump term because Trump doesn't like it. Like, it's not that simple.
It would actually be political suicide too. Like
100%.
That would actually be a way to get the Trumpies to turn on Trump as if they wouldn't realize it until it happened, but then they'd be like, fuck, I don't know healthcare now? What?
Yeah. This is what this means?
Yeah, exactly. And then they'd be like,
I didn't think it would apply to me.
Yeah. There was this really fascinating documentary.
I think it would apply to me, a poor person in the South.
Yeah. There was this like interview documentary about people who like voted for Trump in Texas who had like immigrant friends who wound up getting deported even though they were in the country legally. And they were like, I just never knew this could happen. And it's like, bro, he literally said he was going to do this. Like, people just don't care about the rhetoric. And then when the shit actually happens, they lose their minds. So.
Good. A little episode of talking ticks going.
Talking ticks.
Right. We're not talking about the ticks that are in my clothes.
We were so close to getting onto the spot.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're only 45 minutes in. So
holy shit, how did that happen?
I don't have anywhere to be. I have a hockey game at 9:30. So as long as we start talking about Raps within the next 5 hours,
we're good. A lot of that was us just warming up too. We're only like 20 minutes into the actual pod, probably.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, wow.
And if we keep talking about the logistics of this podcast episode, we're going to burn even more time. So I will stop doing that.
Let's just
we should go back to cars for a minute.
Yeah.
Do you want to do everyone's top artists?
Yeah, let's do top artists, then top songs, then get into the album, our own top 10 album list. How's that?
Screenshot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should we
Okay.
go should we go like around, like everyone's 5, everyone's 4, everyone's 3?
I did 10 for top artists.
Oh, I meant
Oh,
for
you
our
did?
Wrapped.
I don't. Spotify only tells you 5.
Oh, okay. Apple Music gives you 15. So
I only got
Well,
10 for Apple, but that's I think only because I used it for the last couple of months of the year.
yeah, I got 15. But no, that's cool. We can do top 5 artists. Start with that.
okay. My number 5 is Daft Punk.
Very
That's
cool.
crazy.
I was not surprised because I brought up Alive 2007
Yeah.
earlier. I was listening to that a ton, and then I wasn't listening to it as much, and then I got really into. I had tried to get into Discovery before, but I think it took me getting into Alive 2007 and like being familiar with the songs. So then later in the year, I got really into Discovery as well. That fucking rules also. So I had like 2 different kicks on Daft Punk, so I was not shocked to see that in there. But yeah, they've never been anywhere near that in the past. That was probably, well, there's one more on here. There's 3 on here that I think have been like in my top 5 for probably the last 5 years straight. And then there's two newcomers. So I'm slowly working some different stuff in there.
Daft Punk actually made it at my 15 on Apple Music, Connor, entirely because of you and suggesting Live 2007. Because there was a solid
Album rules.
there's a good month in like the spring where anytime I went for a run, I just put on a Live 2007.
Yeah, I was listening to it at the gym a lot.
Yeah.
And I could do my. Should we do? I'll do. How about we do 5 number 5 artist and number 5 song, and then
in one go. Cool.
Yeah,
I
and
dig
then so my number 5 song was Classical, Vampy Weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, great. I think I just really liked hearing that guitar note.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I just listened to that time. Yeah, great song, great album, obviously. So,
Julian, your number 5 artist and
Oh, is it my
song. Let's do.
All right. Well, so I'm sure everyone already knows this because we only have fiercely loyal podcast listeners. But I switched streamers partway through the year, so my data's a little skewed. But my number 5 on Spotify was The Smile for Artists, which I think is no surprise because they put out 2 records this year, and I was pretty heavily into both of them. My number 5 song on Spotify was That's How I'm Feeling by Jack White.
ooh, banger.
Nice.
I will say, to interject real quick, I'm not embarrassed about anything. If I was going to be embarrassed, my top 5 artists are not embarrassing. My top 5 songs after the next 4 are all, if I was the type of guy to get embarrassed about this, then I might be embarrassed about them. So it's just
I'm a little embarrassed.
My top 5 are a little embarrassing too.
okay.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed about mine. My number 5 artist on Apple Music was Chat Pile. So there's that.
Nice. I listened to it a little. I liked it. I was in staunch disagreement with you. I strongly preferred God's Country to the new album.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
I think overall God's Country is a more better album for sure. I just think I don't know, Cool World was just a really easy record for me to listen to when I was like doing shit or just in the car, whatever. I just always wound up putting it on because it's just like so fun and enjoyable of a record for me to listen to.
I would not call God's Country a fun record. So
it's more of like you got to sit down and listen to it, and it's a little bit of a bummer. Well, not to say that Cool World isn't a bummer, but
I can put Cool Worlds on at the gym, and I do often. I can't do that with God's Country.
Mm-mm. Pamela comes on, and you're like,
yeah, why would it work out?
yeah, I want to go
home.
I'm going to start doing heroin, actually. All right,
Colin. My number 5.
What was yours? Wait, did Julian do his song?
My song, I only have my top songs.
Oh, no, you did.
Spotify.
You did. That's
yeah.
how I'm feeling. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
My number 5 song was Capricorn by Vampire Weekend.
Nice.
And my number 5 artist was Charlie XCX.
Nice.
No surprises there.
Yeah.
Honestly, surprised she's not higher.
I am too. Well, there'll be a lot more Charlie XCX as we go down the list. Don't you worry.
Nice. My number 4 song, this one's not surprising, was Semi Charmed Life.
Nice.
Third Eye Blind. That's on brand. And great song. Speaking about upbeat songs about not fun things, that's a great song about
It's one of the best examples.
being in the throes of addictions of crystal meth. Falling asleep inside of you. And then my number 4 artist was Vampy Weeks, Vampire Weekend, who continues their run in my top 5 artists.
Yeah.
It's probably the lowest they've been in a while, actually, which is funny because they came out with a new album. But thanks to this podcast, I did a lot of deep.
It was a stacked year.
Yeah. And I did a lot of deep dives.
It's also worth mentioning, not to speak for you guys, but for me, it's certainly the case, and I imagine it is for you. You know, we're all vinyl listeners.
Yes.
So, you know, obviously our rap
your...
does not take into account the vinyl we're listening to.
I will say that what's fun, that it's not going to be repetitive, at least for me, when I do my top 10 albums of the year, because not to spoil anything, but Vampire Weekend is going to be the only band that released any new music this year that was on my top 5. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing to consider is also Bandcamp. Do you guys use Bandcamp a lot?
I don't.
I'm not good enough.
A lot of my favorite bands exclusively release music through Bandcamp, so a lot of my streaming goes to Bandcamp.
Oh
I know,
dude. Cool.
My nipples got really hard when I said that to you guys.
All right, your turn, Julian. Number 4.
My number 4 song on Spotify was Classical by Vampire Weekend. Number 4 artist was Suicide Boys, which was kind of embarrassing.
That's a little embarrassing for you.
This one does surprise me a little bit because when I go through my top songs, Suicide Boys doesn't show up anywhere until like number 30. And I feel like I really did not listen to Suicide Boys that much at all this year. Apart from I spent a couple days listening to the record that they put out this year, but that's really it. So that's kind of where I feel like the AI thing maybe. I feel like Suicide Boys has been getting thrown at me for the last couple of years because they always wind up in my top 5, even though I feel like I really don't spend that much time listening to them.
Well, I can tell you I didn't spend any time listening to them. So
on my stats for Spotify, they're all the way down at number 20. So
whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's where I am a little confused. Okay. But yeah, and then number 4 on Apple Music for me was Tyler, the Creator.
Nice. I haven't listened to his new album yet. Blowing it.
All right, Colin. Hi, Klaus.
All right, my number 4 song was 360 by Charlie XX. And my number 4 artist, it took a lot to not shout this out when Connor said it, was also Vampire Weekend.
Nice. Woo! Look at that.
Yeah. Which
we got some crossover. What are the odds that we would have?
What are the odds? I know. And it's the exact same thing you said. Like they're always in my top 5. This is maybe the lowest they've ever been. They're usually probably top 3 easily. So there you go.
All right. My number 3 song was Manthem by the Bouncing Souls.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess it checks out. I think I listened to it a lot. I don't know why. I mean, it's a bop, but it's kind of a random song. I don't know if I was just tapping into like Tony Hawk Pro Skater nostalgia or what, but that's on there. And my number 3 artist was R.E.M.
R.E.M.
Very cool. Very cool. So that deep dive was pretty damn deep.
Was deep, yeah. But
that was more recent.
If you look at my stats for Spotify, it said I listen to more U2 than R.E.M., but U2's not my top 5. So
yeah,
I mean, I felt that they were pretty equal. I think I spent about a full month listening to U2 and the podcast, and then probably about a full month listening to R.E.M. almost exclusively after that. So I really thought those would be like my top 2. But
yeah.
That being said, my top 2 didn't surprise me. So,
all right, well, I'm excited. Ooh, suspense is building. My number 3 song on Spotify was "Read the Room" by The Smile, And then my number 3 artist on Spotify was U2. Also goes to note that they were my top artist on stats for Spotify. So yeah, U2, according to stats, was like my top artist of the year by far on Spotify. And then number 3 on Apple Music for me was Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, cool. Interesting. That's cool.
Listen to the new album a lot.
I listened to the new album a few times. I have very mixed feelings about it, but listening to that made me go back and listen to Mr. Morale. And that, I don't know, for some reason, I just really appreciate Mr. Morale a lot more than I did a couple years ago. So
I don't think that. Maybe I should go back. I never really gave that a fair shake.
I feel like I didn't either, but now it's like with some context of a new album, it's just like way more, it seems way more thought out, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Kendrick, baby.
Sweet.
Julian, Read the Room was number 9 for me.
Interesting.
You mentioned that.
Fucking great song.
It is a great song. Okay, my number 3, Sympathy is a Knife by Charlie XCX.
Nice.
And my number 3 artist was Oasis.
I think Sympathy is a Knife is the best song on that album.
It's yeah.
My favorite.
Even though it's only my 3rd most streamed. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, actually.
I don't know. I feel like some of the songs on that record are, again, like more fun to listen to, even though they're not necessarily better.
Also, like, I'm just a big, especially when I know the album's good, I just go back and listen to the album or plan on listening to the whole album, and I don't always end up doing it. So, like, the first song on the album is, like, always my most streamed because I'm just like, I'm going to go listen to the whole album.
Not to spoil anything, but that's literally my Wrapped this year and every year that I've ever had a Wrapped. It's like my top songs wind up just being the first few tracks of a record.
It's why Boy on the Outside is doing pretty well for us on Spotify too, I think.
Yeah, 100%. People listen to the first 45 seconds and they're like, this is horrible.
Yeah, this isn't good. Did you guys see Charlie on SNL?
I saw some clips.
She did 360 and Sympathy is a Knife as her live performances. 360 was but Sympathy is a Knife was an amazing performance.
I think that's what I saw.
She did a Lonely Island song, which was pretty funny. And then she did a sketch with the Please Don't Destroy dudes. Those guys are funny. Yeah, so highly recommend all that content.
Nice. Is it my turn again?
Your turn, number 2.
Number 2 song is Blue Clear Sky by George Strait.
Very cool.
That's
that
wonderful.
one. Yeah, I also checks out. I got really into that song. I was at our like sales meeting or sales kickoff in like January, and the like 4 like VPs at our like kickoff meeting, they like, it was pretty lame, but they did this whole like use like their favorite musical artist as like a metaphor for business, and one of the guys' favorite bands was U2. And at that point, I was like, boo. And then another guy was George Strait. And I was like, I never listened to George Strait. And so I got kind of into George Strait for a while after that. And Blue Clear Sky is a banger. And then number 2 artist, Queens of the Stone Age. Makes sense considering the
deep dive we did.
Yes.
And you're just a big fan in general.
Yeah, they're usually on my top 5 too, but then I really ramped it up pre-podcast. So
they were in my top 10, but not top 5.
This was the first year in quite some time that they weren't in my top 5. I was surprised.
I was surprised that I was the only one who had them.
Yeah. All right. My number 2, I got Old Scratch Blues for the song by Jack White. And then artist is Vampire Weekend for me.
Nice.
I think this is the first time Vampire Weekend's ever been on my top 5, so that was cool. I haven't really, like, it sounds like an old person thing to say, but I haven't really listened to them since I've had a Spotify. So, yeah. The last time I was really into them was when I was still like listening to them on my MP3 player and like CDs. So
there was one year, and I think it was the year Father of the Bride came out, which is funny looking back. That's like my least favorite album of theirs, but I think like 4 out of my top 5 songs were Vampire Weekend songs, and that was like all I listened to. But
people were just excited that the drought was over.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't blame
Yeah.
anyone.
A lot of convincing yourself that album was
Self-manipulating.
better. Yes. Yes.
And then my number 2 on Apple Music was Jordy Greep. Shout out Jordy Greep.
Nice.
All right.
All your Apple Music ones seem like they're guys who came out with stuff in like the last couple months, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
for sure. So, Connor's similar. Why I said mine was kind of embarrassing is because of what you just said about Vampire Weekend. My top songs are almost all Charlie XCX. So my number 2 is Club Classics.
Nice. That is a banger.
Which, and so my 3 was Sympathy's a Knife, 2 is Club Classics, and it's a toss up depending on the day which one of those is my favorite song off the album. It's definitely one of those 2, but yeah, Club Classics got played more. My number 2 artist is The Smile, which I was expecting them to be in the top 10, but I'm surprised they're so high up. But both of the albums they came out with this year are just like very listenable. Especially like if I'm working and need to put on music, I'll throw on The Smile. So I'm not surprised really that they're that high. It makes sense.
Checks out. All right. My number 1 song of the year was Talk Tonight by Jersey. It's Jersey's like a newer French house duo.
Yeah, I know Jersey.
Yeah. And that song, I don't know if it's the best song ever, but it is a banger, and I got really into it like earlier in the year, and I guess I listened to it a shit ton of times. It was funny. I think Jersey like wasn't even on my top 5 artists, but I was in like their 0.01% top listeners because of that song. I really thought that they were gonna like get really big, and then they never did, or they haven't yet. But
it was a good year for French dance music.
Yeah,
Jersey, New Justice album. I feel like Daft Punk is always
me getting into Daft Punk. That was for French house music.
Yeah, there's a few different not that they're necessarily dance, but I've found a few different random French artists this year that I got pretty into.
Do you know there was a conspiracy theory or a rumor, I guess, when Justice first came on the scene that it was like a Daft Punk side project?
Oh, really?
But it was really just Daft Punk doing.
That would make sense. That it'd be a conspiracy.
I saw some old interview with the Justice guys. They're French, so they're very like snide and sarcastic. And somebody asked them, they're like, "What do you think about the rumors that you guys are actually just Daft Punk?" And he's like, "That's actually true." He's like, we're actors, and Daft Punk makes all the music." But number 1 band, not a surprise, happens every year. Steely Dan, artist numero uno. The deep dive just solidified it this year, but they're will probably be in my top artists until I die.
It's cool that they're your top artist, even though you didn't have songs in your top 5, because that just goes to show you listen to the whole catalog. Your catalog.
Yeah, I think if you looked at the playlist, My Old School was like 6. So it was close. And there's a lot. Yeah, there's a good. Yeah, but I was definitely going. I mean, it was the same with Queens of the Stone Age. I was just listening through like all their albums before that playlist came or that podcast. So yeah, going deep. Colin says, "BRB, keep talking."
I don't want him to miss my number 1 though.
I know.
He already knows what it is.
Oh, you can tell me, and we can tell when he gets back.
Okay. Well, my number 1 song was "Bless Yourself" by Jack White.
Nice.
And then my number 1 artist was also Jack White, which honestly was not a surprise. When No Name came out, I was listening to it end to end, like multiple times a day for weeks. So that'll definitely take a toll on your Spotify Wrapped when you do that.
Yeah.
And then
really easy album to just listen to on repeat. Also, like perfect length, just consistently good.
Yeah.
Like
the fact that it was a surprise, that it wasn't something that I could like burn out the anticipation too early was, I think, really helpful. Like knowing that it would feel fresh every time I went back to it.
I was listening the whole time, Julian. These headphones have excellent range, and
wow.
If only the mic was as good as the range.
Yeah.
How dare you? I thought you said it was.
My number 1 artist on Apple Music was The Smile. So that's the only artist that showed up on both.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay.
Okay, my number one. First, I'd like to make comments about both of your number ones and how they relate to me.
Okay.
Connor, I expected Steely Dan to be in my top 5. It wasn't until my number 9.
Ooh, not a real Dan.
Not
head.
a real Dan fan.
Yeah,
I guess.
I'm the only real Dan head on this pod, which is surprising.
Dan was my number 7 on my stats.
They're my number 1.
But you know what, Connor, I when it comes to Dan, I just need the fidelity. So if you know, when I'm in a Dan mood, I throw on Asia on vinyl. You know,
I will say
180 gram pressing, and you know, it sounds fucking amazing. So
I like music that came out like this decade.
I don't. I think on my Spotify stats, that was a difference. I think my Queens of the Stone Age and Dan were switched. So I think Queens of the Stone Age was number 1 on my stats, and Steely Dan was number 2.
Makes sense.
The one thing I do like about that stats for Spotify is you can do like the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's nice to zoom in.
I can actually, I'll probably just actually keep looking at that.
Yeah, that's what I've always kind of done is circle back around every month or so.
Make sure, in case you have to push anybody out of your top 5.
Exactly. Make sure U2 is always comfortably at number 1.
I can't listen to any Britney Spears for the rest of the year.
We're getting dangerous territory here. Then Julian, based on what you said, I was amazed that I have no name songs in my top 10 at all, which
yeah.
I feel like has to be wrong, because that, even more than Brat, as much as it wasn't Brat, I feel like after No Name came out, I was just constantly spitting No Name. But I guess it wasn't as much as I thought.
Yeah, that happened to me with Brat, where I listened to it a shit ton when it first came out, and nothing against it, but I just never really ended up like going back to it much. So that's why she did not end up being super prominent on my Wrapped.
Well, I obviously went back to it a lot. Because my top 5 is littered with Brat songs. But my number 1 song was Classical.
Nice.
Empire Weekend.
So we all had Classical in our top 5.
Classical in the top 5.
Fucking great song. Check it out.
And then no surprises here. My top artist was U2.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Love it. I love that.
And they were like solidly my number 1. Like, so The Smile was number 2, and I think I listened to twice as much U2 as I did The Smile. Minutes.
How many minutes? I think my Steely Dan was like 1,600 minutes of Steely Dan, which is almost exactly a full day of Steely Dan.
I have. Oh God.
Colin just came in his pants.
U2. U2 was 1,200 minutes.
Okay.
And The Smile was 600 minutes.
Nice.
That's insane.
Cool.
Yeah.
And again, catalog, man, not that much. No U2 in your top 5 songs.
Yeah.
They're definitely a catalog band.
They're a catalog band, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to listen to, I mean, unless you're just throwing on Vertigo while you're having sex, then.
Yeah, I didn't have enough sex this year.
Yeah.
Years when I'm really doing a lot of fucking Vertigo.
Always.
Stop. That's always on the loop.
Yeah, that's how. But I only get to the Catorce part every time. Catorce, and then it's over.
Turn it off. Shame.
Don't look at me for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's actually a problem. Every time I hear Vertigo now, I come in my pants as soon as he says Catorce. I've Pavlov's dogged myself.
It's the universal response.
All right. Well, pretty good.
Yeah. Very good stuff, guys.
I will say, for as big of like music snobs as we all pretend to be, not that snobby.
No.
Not snobby at all.
No. Yeah. I literally had Suicide Boys on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Julian,
that's a tough
you and me both had U2 as our
the biggest band of all time.
Yeah.
Arguably both number 1, because Stats put U2 at my number 1, so.
Stats had U2 as my 3rd. But I think I mentioned that, but yeah.
So, which is crazy, because honestly.
Like, genuinely disappointed. because I knew we were going to do this, that I didn't have U2 in my top 5. I was like, what?
But the fact that they're in there at all, and like U2's never been in my top 5. I'm sure they've probably been in Collins almost every year because he's still
I think they've been number one. I could look actually right now. I think they've been number one a lot of years.
Self-fulfilling prophecy that we just.
But all because of you talking U2 to me, and then the deep dives that happened because of that podcast has reignited my passion for honestly a pretty mediocre band, but
shout out,
pretty great.
Shout out Scott and Scott.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
For real.
Yeah, that was my number 2 podcast of the year.
I saw that. Yeah. You're a big sports podcast guy, huh, Connor?
Big sports podcast guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a genre of podcast I've never gotten too into.
Well, it helps me.
All the Barstool stuff.
I'm a little bit ashamed to have Barstool stuff on there, but they're not like, I don't know. I'm like coping a little bit, but they're not like Dave Portnoy podcasts.
Yeah, right. They're just kind under that network.
Guys, who happen to work for Barstool. They're not like, the Mostly Sports one is great. Those guys are funny. Shout out Mostly Sports.
I forgot where to find the podcast Wrapped on Spotify, but Podcadzo is number 4.
Nice. Was it?
Yeah.
If you guys put out more episodes, you would have been mine because I listened to every episode. But the sports ones I listened, Mostly Sports one is number 1 because they have an episode every day. So that's why that's part of why I listen to them so much is I listen to them every morning. But
there you go. Well, is that part of your morning routine? Is that what you do, like when you're making breakfast and stuff? You throw on a sports podcast?
I get up, throw on a sports podcast, and then I drive around so much for work, so I usually listen to them in my car. So I think I had like my music listened was 76,000 minutes, and then I think my podcast was like almost 40,000 minutes. So lots of podcasts.
My like music minutes listened to this year shrunk a lot compared to last year because I just stopped listening to music as much in my car as I used to because like I'm driving on the highway more now and like I don't have the best sound system in my car and so it just doesn't sound great listening to music on the highway, so I usually opt for a podcast instead. But
it's all mood dependent for me.
Indeed.
Same.
Because sometimes I'll be on like a drive and I'll be listening to a podcast and I'll be like, I'm going to fall asleep. I need to put on like some active music right now.
Yeah.
To wake myself up.
I need to put on my old school again.
Mm-hmm. No, but I know it won't do. You know that he's talking about Bard?
Yeah, Bard.
Yeah. Did I tell you the story? Did I tell the story when I went to Bard?
I think you did on our Silly Dan episode.
Yeah.
But refresh your memory.
Oh, I went there and I could see why they never want to go back. Fucking sucks.
You went there for like a party, right?
Yeah, I was driving out to Cape Cod with my friend, and he had some friends that went to Bard. And the people I will say, his friends that went to Bard, I like. But we went to like a house party, and it was just like, I was just like, holy shit, these people are unbearable to be around. There was one, this guy was like, and the irony is he was totally just trying to impress this girl that he was trying to bang. But we took a shot. We were taking a shot, and I did the old toast. I did this one's to honor. If you can't come in her, come on her. Classic joke. And this guy was like, he's like, dude, that is just not. He's like, I don't even want to take this shot with you anymore. Like that. And I looked at my friend. I was like, I think I'm gonna go like sit in the car for the rest of the night. But there's such a great line in that song where he goes, "When California tumbles into the sea, that'll be the day I go back to Annandale." So they don't ever want to go back there either, which is funny. So. I didn't pick up on that line until like I was listening to it recently. I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Steely Dan has a lot of lines like that where you're like, that's actually
one-liners, dude.
Good comedy.
Oh, for sure. They're in every song. There's one of those where like it's so easy to just groove with Steely Dan without paying attention to the lyrics.
Yeah.
And every song. Yeah. There's a lore to every song that's just genius. Yeah. That's why they're the best.
That's why they're number one.
Number one.
Can I go pee break before we go into the top 10 albums?
Yeah, go for it.
PP break.
Okay.
PP break.
I'm gonna go pee poo poo. No, just pee.
Every
Julian,
PP time is a poo time.
Yeah.
Imagine a world if that was true.
That's the truth. Oh, it's the truth for me.
Brother. No wonder you can't keep any weight on.
JK. I was going to say U2 was my number 2 last year, and Blur was number 1 last year.
That sounds about right. How do you see last year's? Do you just have it saved somewhere?
Yeah, on Apple Music, you can go.
Oh,
Let me go back to 2022. I have 24, 23, 22. And Queens of the Stone Age was number 3 last year, which is interesting. Radiohead 4. Viagra Boys 5.
Screenshots.
Well, Oasis wasn't until number 7 last year. I'm surprised Viagra Boys, now looking at this, wasn't. I don't think Viagra Boys was even in my top 15.
We didn't even talk about Viagra Boys a single time this year.
Yeah, well, they didn't come out with anything.
Yeah, but neither did you too.
Yes, they did. They came out with Reassemble.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
it's a whole other way of looking at that album. It's changed my life.
Colin, what would your Oasis buddies think if they knew Blur was your number 1 band last year?
I guess I was just a lot less working class last year than I was this year.
Blur
I was really getting back to my posh art school roots last year.
Blur kicks the shit out of Oasis, in my opinion.
150%, brother.
They're so much better. And then like the later period Blur stuff is so sick too. Like
and
after they got really into Pavement, like totally changed their sound. Then the guy fucking went and formed Gorillaz, who also fucking rule. So
and then they put out a Blur album that was like kind of Gorillaz-y. Like they've done everything.
Yeah.
The Magic Whip.
That guy's the man. I love
Damon Albarn Noel Gallagher doesn't hold a candle to Damon Albarn.
Have you seen the video where he got the whole Clint Eastwood beat was just like a preset on like a old sampler?
Yeah.
I love those kind of stories.
I do too. Zane Lowe was like, how'd you come up with that, man?
He's like, just like, check this out.
All this one button.
And then he I heard another story about Delta Fucking Homo Sapien being on that song. He like almost wasn't on that song. And then obviously ended up being Delta Fucking Homo Sapiens, like biggest song ever.
Oh yeah.
And he gave the gold record to his mom.
Turns and I'm so grateful that Del was on that because I would have never probably heard of Del the Funky Homo Sapien otherwise. And Deltron 30 is like.
I was the opposite. I got into Deltron and then I was like, holy shit, he's the guy on fucking Clint Eastwood.
That's really funny.
And then I think it got me more into I knew that song, but I think I got more into Gorillaz after that because I was like, oh shit. And then, probably 10 years later realized that the Gorillaz was the guy from Blur and then got into Blur.
Yeah.
All kinds of Easter eggs. But
yeah. Okay. Top 10 albums?
Top 10 albums of 2024.
I'm excited for this.
If you can't tell by my rap, this was a little bit. I mean, it wasn't. I thought it was going to be harder for me than it was, but I just wasn't on the new music train as much this year as I was on the Steely Dan U2 REM train.
Even though U2 was my top artist, I was more on the new music train this year than I had been in a long time. And Julian had thrown out, let's do top 25 over the weekend, and
I was like, there's no way.
That's too daunting.
I got it.
As I was making my top 10 list, I was like, fuck, I wish we actually did top 25. I actually could have done that. Yeah.
There's a couple on my top 10 where I'm like, I really liked them, but I didn't listen to them a lot.
Yeah, that's true. A lot,
I went over the last few days, I went back and re-listened to the ones that I was like, I think I want it on here, and then confirmed, okay, yeah, this album rules. I definitely want it here. So I feel good about it now.
I listed some honorable mentions, and I had that thing with honorable mentions where I was like, I like this album. I know I do, but I've only listened to it twice, so I can't really put it on my list. So that's why I threw it in honorable mentions. And yeah, it would have been a lot of that if we did a top 25. It'd be like, this is an album I listened to once, 6 months ago that I remember liking. So it wouldn't have been fair, but yeah, it was just really hard to narrow down to top 10. But I think I feel pretty good about my top 10 list. I think I stand by it. So you want to do the same order? We'll just go tit for tat, Connor, Julian, then me.
Sure.
All right.
All right. My number 10, Almighty So 2, Chief Keef.
Nice.
This was the only rap album that made my list, but it was between this. Blue Lips just got bumped. It was going to be Blue Lips, and then I listened to both of them again, and I was like, this Chief Keef album is fucking so much fun. And
It is really
he has a way of like still kind of sounding like he did in 2013, but it doesn't, to me at least, like doesn't feel dated.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. There are some skits on this album that are really, really funny. And just especially like the first half. It's a little long, so was Blue Lips. So, but especially the first half is just banger, 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 banger. And one of my favorite lines of the year is "Ain't your regular truck, it's a mod on it. Wide body kit, look like a dad bod on it." Great. Especially when you think that he's probably talking about his Lamborghini Urus that has a Mystery Machine Scooby-Doo rap on it.
Oof.
Which is
That's
hilarious.
funny that line has stuck around with you so much.
I don't know
One
why.
of the only rap lyrics in recent years that stuck around with me is "That ain't no regular F-150 bitch, it's a fucking Raptor."
Yeah.
Anytime I see a
similar.
Raptor, I hum that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar vibe for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that Jesus skit where the guy's talking about reparations and how the light skinned people are going to get less reparations. And he's like, Drake, Chris Brown, you get $8. Chief Keef, you get $200 million. All right, that's my 10.
Good album. Nice.
Yeah, very solid pick. My number 10 is Absolute Elsewhere by Blood Incantation. Definitely
That's an gem of mine.
a very heavily spun record for me. It's just it's like everything I like about music. Like I kind of feel like it was made for me. So yeah, definitely one of the most enjoyable listens from the whole year. It's just every time I listen to it, something new kind of pops out. Super proggy. The soundscape is perfect. The mix is
proggy.
perfect. Love that they're from Colorado. Makes me feel proud of our metal scene.
Denver
Shout out.
boys. I may have more to say on that album later.
Oh,
I kind of spoiled it. I said that's an honorable mention of mine. It was very hard not to include that on my top 10, but it's solid. It would be number 11 probably. Yeah, beautiful album for sure. Okay, Connor and I lining up again a little bit here because my number 10 is Blue Lips, Schoolboy Q, an album Connor almost put as number 10.
I thought it was going to be Chief Keef. I was like, oh shit.
No, I definitely introduced it as if it were going to be, but it was a toss up between that and Chromacopia. And so another spoiler, Chromacopia did not make the list. I just feel like I haven't listened to it as like, Blue Lips came out earlier in the year. It's been in my rotation heavily. I've spent a lot of time with the album, and it's the only rap I put in mine as well. Only hip hop album in my list. But it's a great record. Julian and I have talked about it several times before on the pod. So yeah, Blue Lips.
Cool. My turn.
Yeah.
Number 9 is No Name. Great record.
excellent.
Solid.
Yeah. It's been talked about a lot on here. I think the only thing, was it you guys who said you didn't like Archbishop Harold Holmes?
No, I said that was my favorite song.
Oh, okay. I think that's my favorite song too. Maybe it was maybe it was Needle Drop who said he didn't like that song. Some review I was reading said they didn't like that song.
Fantano.
That's my favorite song. But he did give that album like a 9, so
yeah,
fair. But yeah, cool. No Name.
Very solid. My number 9 is Brat.
Nice.
And again, we've talked about it so much, but yeah, even though it didn't necessarily like have staying power for me, it definitely highlighted like the first half of the year for me in a really good way. And I think that the almost like unpredictable amount of hype around the record and the staying power that it's had is just symbolic enough of how much that record meant to everybody this year. So yeah,
it's great to see
Charlie
get her flowers. She's been doing it
She's
for a
been doing
long
it.
time. And
I didn't really know anything about her before Brat, and Brat got me on the train. So
I have Vampire Weekend entirely to thank, and Rostam specifically to thank for Charlie XCX. I've been a fan of hers since like 2017, and it was.
I think for me it was Pop 2 that got me into her.
Yeah.
Because like I think it was Pitchfork. Pitchfork gave Pop 2 like a best new music. I was like, what? I thought this was like some shitty pop. And then I listened to that album, and there's that song on that album with Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yeah.
It's like still Backseat, still one of my favorite songs. So,
amazing.
But she's always been like moderately. I mean, she's had her hits or like features on huge hits, but this never.
I didn't take her seriously for years, like until the Vampire Weekend Rostam connection, and she was on Time Crisis. I didn't take her seriously for years because of the Icona Pop song, which is an absolute bang. Like, don't get me wrong, I love that song.
Going back and listening to I Don't Care, that song is a fucking banger.
It's so good. I've always liked that song, but it was always just like, okay, like, yeah, Charli XCX is that type of artist. She's gonna you can like a song like that.
You like go back and listen to it now, knowing that she's cool, and then like feel cooler listening to that song, and then you're like, all right, this song is just really good.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, Julian, you're number 9. Oh no, sorry. You said Brat. Brat was your number 9.
I feel like you're not really paying attention when I speak.
Colin's just he's paying attention to how he can tie it back into.
I'm just trying to think about how it related to me, and I did that with you, and that's why I got distracted.
Okay, so now you can go.
I talked about how Charli XCX related to me, and then I forgot that's what you said.
All right, Colin, it's the moment you've been waiting for. It's your turn.
My turn. My number 9 is "I Got Heaven" by Mannequin Pussy.
Great.
Tough to leave that one off for me. I'm
surprised how much I love this album and how much I return to it, and it's fantastic.
Very solid record.
Title track. So good.
Julian, I am listening to what you say. That makes me feel bad that you said that. I've been paying very close attention to you. How dare you?
Do you want like a fucking medal, some chocolate?
Maybe retract your earlier statement.
I can't retract something that people already listened to and digested into their brains. That's just not how it works.
That's what a retraction is.
Not in my mind.
You guys ever see In Bruges?
I love In Bruges. It's one of my favorite movies.
Whenever somebody talks about retracting, I just stick that line where it's like, you retract a bit about my cunt fucking kids. All right, I retract a bit about your cunt fucking kids. But speaking of great lines, great line on I Got Heaven is what if Jesus himself ate my fucking
snatch? Yeah.
The delivery is...
so good. I love I am growling on a stranger. I am biting at his knees.
Yeah, it's just
so good.
Kind of wish I had put that on here. Definitely an honorable mention. My 8. My number 8 is Manny Fireworks, MJ Lenderman.
Nice.
Yeah. Really, I was shocked that Wristwatch wasn't higher on my songs. I feel like I spun the shit out of that song. She's Leaving You, spun the shit out of that. Front to back, really good. I listened to, he had an album a few years ago, Boat Songs, that was pretty solid. I got kind of into, and then he really kind of came into his own. And also, not any spoilers, but he also featured on a different album on my list that's higher up.
Oh,
I know what it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about that album. I don't think that album's going to be a surprise either. So, yeah, but shout out MJ Lenderman. Also, kind of getting his flowers this year. I saw him on a lot of high up on a lot of year-end lists. So
yeah,
but
he was the indie darling of this year for sure.
I got a houseboat docked at the Hambo Dome. Banger song.
Good stuff.
All right, Julie.
All right, number 8. Is that what we're on?
Number 8.
My number 8 is the Tyler album Chromacopia. Nice. Even though it hasn't been out for that long, I have very quickly grown very attached to it. I think it could possibly be, again, his release strategy and the way that the record came out tied very heavily into my excitement level around the record, and also just the fact that I was traveling a bunch when it came out and kind of restricted to like just what I had downloaded. Like I wound up listening to it a shitload. And I just think it's like amazing. Like I think it's super fun and enjoyable to listen to, but then I also think it's very like dense and personal, and there's a lot of like character struggles and like personal identity issues and things like that that arise, and it's just very like mature while also being very like lighthearted and fun. The production is solid through and through, and I just think it's like Tyler in his ultimate element. Like it's hard because it might not be as good as like an Igor or a Flower Boy, but it's still, compared to everything else that came out this year, especially rap wise, that just feels gimmicky and fake. It just feels amazing that a rapper is not afraid to like do whatever the fuck they want just and be super conceptual on a record. So I loved it. I think it's fantastic. That's it.
Kind of similar, sort of similar to how I feel about like the Chief Keef, where it's like, fuck, that doesn't get. He's literally, clearly just doing whatever the fuck he wants. Like, not giving a fuck about trends, and just, I respect it. I need to listen to that album, but I haven't, so I can't put it on here. Colin,
Next year.
All right, my next two might surprise you guys a little bit.
Ooh.
Because they're just albums I haven't talked too much about on the pod. But
next time we do this, not to interrupt, we should have done a snake draft. Do a snake draft next time.
Snake draft?
You go around and then you bounce back. So like you would do 2 in a row.
You get 2 in a row.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's too late now. But anyway,
next time. My number 8. This Could Be Texas by English Teacher.
Never
you guys know that record?
Mm-hmm.
I did check that record out.
Yeah, I brought it up on a recent pod. Or maybe that's the Banked Up we haven't put out yet because we're talking about debut albums. So this is the debut record from an English indie rock band called The English Teacher.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it as a record.
Have to check it out.
I think you'd like it, Connor.
Nice. We'll have to put it on the playlist.
Yes, the playlist will be updated. Oh, yeah. Let's plug the playlist real quick. We're making a playlist, guys, that's for the podcast. All the music we talk about on the podcast will be on the podcadzo playlist, which is linked to the Cadzo Spotify page. So go to Cadzo on Spotify and check out the podcadzo playlist.
Is that why you added me to collab so I can go add some stuff from my list?
Yeah. And I also just respect you as a playlist curator and was hoping to get your input on it. So feel free to rearrange stuff, both of you guys.
Well, I like the idea of keeping it to like stuff we talked about. So I'll do like stuff from my Wrapped and from my top 10. I'll add to it.
Sweet. Cool.
All right. So English Teacher. Number 7. Oh, Pander pick. I knew you guys weren't going to do it because you're too humble. So my number 7 is Mile a Minute Man by Cadzo. I'm not even, it's a little bit of a pander pick, but I genuinely have spun it several times since it came out. I really enjoy it. Target Market's awesome. French 75 is awesome. Title track, Boy. You guys have your indie ass song names, so I can't remember all the song names, but all the songs that were already out I really like, and I thought it flowed really well. Nice sequencing. I was like a proud dad listening. It's truly great record.
Thanks, dude. That really means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was very happy with the way the sequence turned out. I think it couldn't have gone better because we did not know. Well, we didn't necessarily not know what the sequencing should be, but we were definitely playing with it a fair bit, and I think we nailed the sequence for sure.
A classic move, tried and true, is to have the title track be the last song on the album. Love when people do that.
And shout out
the song was named before the record was named, so it was kind of an accident. Yeah.
Shout out to Julian, came up with the name for the record like the day we uploaded it because we didn't have a name for it yet. And Julian was like, what if and Mile a Minute Man was the last song we finished, and Julian liked that song. And he was like, what if we just called it, or what if we made Mile a Minute Man the title track? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. So
there were some other titles that were in the ethos, but nothing that was necessarily good.
Yeah.
Did you?
I'm happy we didn't go with a lot of the alternate titles for sure.
Boy on the Outside could have worked.
Could have worked. Yeah.
Did you take that picture in Japan, Julian?
Yes, the album
Cool
art
pick.
is from the Sky Tree in Tokyo, and
Cool pick.
thank you. We not that anyone really gives a shit, but we had been talking about doing something photorealistic for the album cover for at least a few months. And originally the idea was to do like kind of like something dark, like abandoned street vibes, just like nighttime or something like that. And then we'd moved to maybe doing something a bit more lively, still nighttime, but like Denver, like signs and shit like that. And then when the Japan trip was coming to fruition, I was like, well, fuck, I'm about to go to Japan. Why don't I just try and take the album cover when I'm there? And Con was like, okay.
Nice.
And I took about 500 photos that were all possible album picks. And then I sent, what, like 10 to you total?
And I singled out the one that made it on the cover and like two other ones. And Julian was like, I really like this one. Like, I do too. And then we just, Julian edited it and we threw it on the cover and it worked.
Yeah, Benson, I think, kind of was the ultimate decider there because me and Colin didn't really know what to do.
Nice. I think it looks cool. And I think it fits. It gives the album a different vibe because I don't think, it could be a darker vibe, but I think it's got some lighter aspects to it. So
Yeah.
I think it works.
I think so too. I'm pretty
It's
satisfied.
on brand.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thanks a bunch, man.
Yeah, man. That means a lot.
Absolutely. All right, Julian, you're up. Number 7. Enough sucking to your guys' dicks.
No, well, number 7 for me is actually Mile a Minute. Not really. But number 7 for me is Cool World by Chap
Nice.
Pile. Just love it. I already gave it its flowers earlier. It's fucking great. So, yeah.
Thanks. Cool.
All right. My number 7, Midas by Wonder Horse.
Very cool. I did check that one out too.
Yeah. Both English teacher only came out a couple months. Yeah. Wonder Horse came out in August and I didn't like catch on to the album until like October probably. But since then, just heavy rotation. Big Wonder Horse fan. Connor, they're another English indie rock band. Midas is their second album. I think I'm a little bit of a bigger fan of their first album, which was called Cub. But Midas is still a great album. And I got into Wonder Horse specifically through like their live performance videos. They're just an amazing live band. And the studio stuff is great too. So yeah, I think you'd be into them as well. So check out
another one I'll have to check out.
Wonder Horse. They're opening for Fontaine's DC, or currently opening for them on their like European tour. So
nice.
Yeah.
English band opening for an Irish band, huh?
Yeah, indeed. Good to see that dynamic
breaking down barriers.
Yeah. Historical power hierarchies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful thing.
Let's suck it, England.
Fucking hate England so much, dude.
Up the rock.
Oop the fucking raw, boys.
I've been listening to a lot of Kneecap lately. And you ever listen to Kneecap?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've been real IRA heavy lately.
I start every day by listening to Shipping Out to Boston by Dropkick Murphys.
Nice. I like to listen to Come Out Ye Black and Tans by the Wolf Tones.
Another beautiful tune.
Sweet. All right. We're on 7? No, we're on 8. No, we're on 6.
We're on 6.
I'm counting down. Sorry. One of my store managers just sent me a full paragraph text in Spanish.
I hope you have Apple Intelligence on that phone to translate it.
I hoped that he would know I didn't speak Spanish at this point. But, my number 6 is In Waves by Jamie XX.
Interesting.
Yeah, another house record. In Color, but this is his first record says In Color, which has been like 10 years. Maybe not 10, but a while. In Color is one of my favorite albums of all time. So I thought it's not as good as In Color, but it was a solid follow up and has some really cool moments and good jams on it. So, yeah. Love me some Jamie XX. So
I spun that when it came out, but have not returned to it and don't really remember it. But I
also spun it
again. Yeah,
good. It was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
A little bit of nostalgia played just because I love In Color so much, but it was different from In Color, and it was like I feel like house music has gotten super, especially like it's gone really mainstream and gotten real watered down, and this was like a nice, refreshing, like actually really talented producer doing house music, and it was kind of refreshing in that sense. So he was in his bag a little bit, and yeah, definitely I would give it another spin. Super good. The song with what's the song with the avalanches? Oh shit.
I love the Avalanches.
He has a song on that album, All You Children. It's so good. Absolute banger.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my 6.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
My number 6 is Blue Lips. Hooray for Schoolboy Q. I just think being a longtime Schoolboy fan, having him put out something this solid that is really long, like Connor said, but to me it felt like justifiably long. It didn't feel too long. There wasn't anything that was like recycled necessarily. It was just really exciting to have a Schoolboy album out that was really good through and through, because like I love Crash Talk. Crash Talk has some weak songs on it. That's just the reality of the situation. So having a Schoolboy release that not only had no weak tracks, but was really exciting and like unpredictable all the way through was just like mind blowing for me. Like I didn't have it on my bingo card, so I wound up listening to it again like a shitload of times, and it never got old. Like the way that the tracks change up and go to unexpected places, and the edgy but still accessible kind of production value that it has. I just think it's a fucking masterpiece. I'm all about it.
Is it your favorite Schoolboy album?
Probably, honestly. Like I love Crash Talk, even despite its weaker songs, but there's just something so exciting about Blue Lips where it's like feels so modern and new and crispy, and despite kind of listening to it arguably too much, it still feels that way. Whereas Crash Talk, can't necessarily listen to it like 6 times in a row and feel like it's still a masterpiece.
My favorite is Blank Face. I fucking love Blank Face.
Blank Face is fucking great too, and that's like Blank Face is the reason why I love Schoolboy Q. I just think it's cool that Schoolboy kind of maintains the fuck around, not taking himself too seriously aspect on Blue Lips, while also gaining like a shitload of maturity. So
cool.
My number 6, Cutouts by The Smile.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Great record. Connor, you ever listen to Smile at all?
No, I feel like I should listen to Radiohead first.
Honestly, you might want to listen to The Smile first. They're kind of
maybe I will. Maybe I'll go backwards.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
I think you would enjoy The Smile more.
Okay, I'll check
Obviously, Julian and I are big The Smile heads.
I've noticed
and Julian, I don't know about you. I forgot that they put out 2 albums this year.
Yeah, Wall of Eyes was this year too.
Couldn't believe it until doing this recap.
We didn't do a top 25, but Wall of Eyes would have been my number 22 on my 25. I think it's the first time I've ever had. Well, no, that's not true. There was in 2017 when Giz put out like 5 records that a couple of those records wound up on my top 20, but it's very rare that a band puts out 2 records and they both wind up on a top list. So that's good.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm listening. I gotta run and do a tinkle. Keep talking.
Okay. This one you've talked enough about, so it'll be perfect. My number 5 is Brat. So
He's not even here to talk about how much he likes it.
I think we've talked about it probably a good amount on this.
But I bet he has something else he could say.
He probably does. But yeah, I should just be like, oh, you know what? How did Brat get on here? That I'm fucking sucks.
Yeah, I put it on there ironically because of how much I hate it.
No, same as you, Julian. Like, didn't necessarily listen to it all year long, but love, great album, like really good album, front to back, and just the moment that the fact that she like rode that way, then like it never felt like, I'm sure to some people it did, but to me it never felt like it got like old or forced, like the whole Brat Summer thing.
The release calendar was like perfect because I feel like right when Brat Summer was kind of getting old, that's when she did the Brat, but it's completely different thing. So then it re-upped everyone's hype about it.
Mm-hmm.
My headphones were cutting out a little bit. Connor, was yours Brat? Did you say?
Yes, it was Brat. Which
okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to say
I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, what's your opinion? What are your opinions on Brat, Colin? Did you like that album?
No, I heard your whole banter. Yes, I've already said enough about Brat.
Okay. We were riffing.
You're riffing. It was an episode of good riffs.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you. Any laugh was had.
All right, Julian, number 5.
Number 5 for me, we're talking "Only God Was Above Us" by Vampire Weekend.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I got scared for a second. Thought I forgot to put it on here, but.
We've talked a lot about this one. It's kind of the same as what we were just saying about Brat. I didn't necessarily circle back around to it a whole bunch in the back half of the year. But the amount that I listened to it in the front half of the year, and I mean the fact that I look back on it now and still feel incredibly fondly about it, kind of solidifies its place for me. Like, it's just for Vampire Weekend fans who like the antics of Vampire Weekend, it's like the perfect delivery of where they've been, where they are right now. I also really appreciate the fact that, I mean, I know Time Crisis has been around for fucking ever, but I really appreciate that they did the Vampire Campfire and kind of, it seemed like opened the doors a little bit more to the Vampire Weekend universe and were a bit more like outgoing and social, and definitely took the live shows like a bit less seriously. Not saying that, you know, the last tour was super serious either, but just seeing where they're at now and being a fan of them for a long time, I feel like it's, again, a perfect record. I wouldn't change anything about it.
Really good.
You know, it's funny, on Time Crisis, they joke a lot about people who are TC heads, but not into Vampire Weekend. And I would say I'm a TC head and a VW head who's not a big Vampire Campfire head. I haven't really. That's a great podcast.
I haven't listened to any Vampire Campfire, actually.
It's definitely not the best podcast I've ever listened to. I just appreciate that. I appreciate that they are like trying to communicate and like keep the door slightly more open there and be more of like a chill, accessible band rather than like a mysterious, edgy, non-communicative band.
And I should be careful speaking as someone who's in a band who has a podcast, because Vampire Campfire probably beats the shit out of podcadzo.
100%.
No way.
100%.
No way.
They're worst at. They've only got like 4 episodes out, but I've enjoyed myself in those 4 episodes 10 times more than any podcadzo episode.
All I meant by criticizing, I listen to every episode still, and just every episode I listen to, I'm like, I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would enjoy like a pure Vampire Weekend podcast. That's all I meant by it. But
sure. That's kind of how I'm just like, I just love TC so much that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, TC's the best internet radio show. Or
if there wasn't a goddamn paywall behind it, maybe we could all have an opinion.
You have Apple Music.
Julian, yeah, you have Apple Music.
Fuck, I just realized I could listen to it now.
It's funny because I obviously listen to all my music on Spotify. I have an Apple Music membership basically just to listen to Time Crisis.
It's worth the money.
It is.
You get what you pay for on that one.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's like bundled with Apple TV Plus, and Severance is about to come out again.
So excited for Severance season 2.
Me too.
Okay, number 5.
Yeah.
Romance by Fontaines and DC.
Nice.
Was number
HM
5.
for me.
HM,
Fucking,
nice.
Probably.
I was curious if it would make your list, Julian.
It didn't make my list, but it's an HM.
Yeah.
I listened to the singles and really liked them, and I just have not gotten around to listening to. I think it came out like peak U2 REM cycle for me.
yeah.
And I was
hard
just
to
not,
break through.
Yeah, I just didn't have any interest in listening to anything else. But I do plan on going because I have. You might have seen A Hero's Death in my my vinyl.
I saw it in your first.
Yeah. So not to brag, but I've been into Fontaines DC for a while. So
yeah, indeed. From the second album, at least.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 14.
Number 14. Number 14 for me. Just talked about it. Agua. VW. Awesome album. I was just so happy when it came out that how much of a return to form it was.
Mm-hmm.
Just like half happiness, half relief, but just really good. And yeah, every time I go back to it, it's like, yep, still really good.
Yep. Doesn't get old.
Mm-mm.
Number 4 for me is going to be The New Sound by Jordy Greep. I don't have much to say about it that I feel like I haven't already said on some podcast at some point. But yeah, it's just really solid. It's like accessible, but weird and really out there. And lyrically, it's fucking nuts. But yeah, it's a player record. Like it's studio musicians to the max. Like every single second of the record seems planned out and thought out fully. So type of record that I love.
Is he from BCNR or
Black Midi?
Oh
Black
no,
Midi. Okay.
yeah,
Black Midi. I knew this from one of those bands. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's funny. I always confuse BCNR and Black Midi.
Yeah, one of those black bands.
Yeah. Weird black English indie bands. HM for me, Julian.
It's real good.
Yeah, definitely. My number 4, and this is something I really struggled with, guys. I maybe regret this a little bit, having both of these albums on the list, but my number 4 is Wall of Eyes by The Smile. Two Smiles album in my top 10.
Doubled up on
I was
Smile.
just, I was approaching this really objectively. Like, what have I? Yeah. I know. I'm riding it hard.
Tom,
Above
deeper
cutouts, huh?
Deeper, Tom.
And that, so the one thing I struggled with was having both albums on here. The other thing I struggled with was what the order was. Because lately I've been more into cutouts than Wall of Eyes. But if I look at this whole year, Wall of Eyes came out right at the start of the year. It's been with me throughout the entire year. I've listened to that album so much. I love it. I love the cutouts, so I had to put both of them on here, and that's just how the dice fell.
I don't blame you.
Sorry, not sorry.
I forgive you and I don't forgive you.
Thank you. And fuck
You're
you.
welcome and you're not welcome. And eat my ass.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3.
My number 3 is Absolute Elsewhere.
Oh shit.
Yeah, fucking, so good. I listened to this for like a week straight when I finally got into it, and yeah, it's just perfect. Like I love me some death metal, but death metal, hardcore, it can all get a little repetitive and a little bit lack of depth sometimes, and this album just is so deep and not repetitive and so proggy. Like literally feels like you're listening to fucking David Gilmour ripping a solo. And then like the best way to sum it up is when I was getting really into it, I sent it to a buddy of mine. I was like, dude, you gotta listen to this album. And he's like, all right, putting it out right now. So I was like texting him as he was listening to it. And I'm like, oh, how do you feel? And he's like, oh, I'm at one of the mellow parts now, just waiting just waiting to get fucked again at any moment. And it's like really how it is. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna be beautiful for a while, and then just like when you least expect it, just
Yeah, so brutal.
yeah, and they're
Definitely.
just it just really just never heard anything like it, and it's infinitely repeatable. You can listen to it at the gym, you can listen to it doing anything. Awesome album. Awesome.
Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah, I wouldn't change a single thing about it. It's a
Perfect.
masterpiece.
Yeah.
And it's cool that it's not to like be that fucking douche, but it kind of reminds me of old school ISIS in a lot of ways, where old school ISIS focused on being like super heavy or super beautiful and having like not really much transition between the two. I just think it's cool. Like that concept has always fascinated me. That's kind of like mostly what Foreign Words, my other band, tries to do, is be even remotely like that. But to have a band just like make it so seamless, like you can be listening to a synth jam and then it turns into like a black metal riff and you don't even really notice the change.
Yeah. Reminds me a little of Converge. Like some of the proggier Converge stuff. But yeah, just really good. Julian, number 3.
Number 3. My number 3 is going to be No Name by Jack White. No, I'm not going to say shit about it again, but yeah, it's so fucking good, and I'm probably going to listen to it tomorrow. So,
Julian, my number 3, No Name by Jack White.
Oh fuck, dude! Hell yeah!
Whoa!
Up on one.
Lined up.
Lined up.
Sweet. All right,
Iconic.
easy enough. Number 2, I thought this was going to be my number 1 pretty much all year until last night. And last night I re-listened to my number 1 and decided it was my number 1 and listened again today and confirmed. So my number 2 is Waxahachie, Tiger's Blood. Just love it. Beautiful. Every song is like so catchy and, you know, not reinventing the wheel, I wouldn't say, but just a cool like indie country vibe, and just literally every song. I love every song on the album.
Yeah.
And I was really shocked. I felt like I listened to this so much, and I was really shocked. That was one of them where I was like, this is really not in my top 5 on my Spotify Wrapped Waxahachie, but yeah. And shout out having the MJ Lenderman feature on Right Back to It, which is a great song. So
there was a month, because Apple Music lets you break down top artists by month, and there was a month where Waxahachie was my number 1. I think it was when we talked about it on the pod.
nice.
So yeah, that album's an HM of mine.
Nice.
Mm.
Cool.
Julian,
All
number
right.
2.
Number 2 for me is going to be Cutouts by The Smile. Yeah, I think Colin, I don't know, like the whole thing about Wall of Eyes or Cutouts for me, it was like obvious. Like even almost from the first time I heard Cutouts, I was just like, well, this is just infinitely better than Wall of Eyes in every way. And I can't really even explain why. I think it's such a good, even culmination of the first 2 Smile records while still breaking new territory. And the way that it feels like almost the most relaxed Tom York has ever been in his career, where it's just like not every idea has to be like an 11 out of 10 fucking perfect, mind-blowing idea. Like some of the things that are just like more simple and more groove-oriented can still be really, really good. And it's just really fun to see 2 dudes who are like so uppity about everything for their entire musical career just kind of cut loose and do shit that just feels good and is really fun and listenable. And for me, that's what Cutouts is. It's just like the perfect culmination of everything, The Smile, the best parts of Radiohead, just the most like locked in I feel like that The Smile has been on any of their records. And the amount of times I listened to it, it was the record I listened to the third most, essentially. Like it was No Name, one other record, and then this record that completely just dominated what I listened to this year. So Yeah, highly influenced by it.
You're making me second guess having walled eyes before cutouts.
Well, not to say that you. I mean,
No,
I can see why you would. It's just, I don't know.
It is a great record.
It's so just again. I know I've said this a bunch of times on this list. It's perfect. Like, there's not a single thing that I would change about any of it. Whereas Wall of Eyes, it's like, I don't know if I would have left. I don't know if Teleharmonic needed to have a fucking minute and a half long noise section in it for real. Like, I don't know. There's just little moments where I'm like, this seems a little bit self-indulgent and over the top, but I don't feel that way. A single second of cutouts.
Tom York did something self-indulgent. That's so weird.
Unlike him. All right, my number 2. I'm going to say this without anything after is Aqua by Vampire Weekend.
Nice.
We covered it enough.
Nah, you're number 1, huh?
I'm a number 1.
I think I might know where your number 1
Probably, yes.
I think I might know
my
two.
number 1 is.
I might have a guess. I can't remember. I haven't really been listening to you. Mostly just listening to Julian. Number 1. All right, number 1 time?
Number 1.
All right. My number 1 is The Great American Bar Scene by Zach Bryan.
Holy shit.
Not.
Oh, God, all right.
I literally wrote on this list.
You really got me.
I thought of that last night. I wrote on this list, make a joke about Zach Bryan. No, never. Fuck that guy. No, my number 1 is Passage du Désir. Johnny Blue Skies, aka Sturgill Simpson. I knew it was gonna be my top 10, and then I just fucking spun it again last night and was like, God damn, this album is so good. He is, man, I don't know who hurt that man or who continues to hurt that man, but he is just the most gorgeous, most painful. And this album was just another iteration of that with another kind of step up in his instrumentation, I think. The moment where he goes from Scooter Blues, which is like this fun little Jimmy Buffett song, into Jupiter's Ferry, which like absolutely, those songs are back to back, and Jupiter's Ferry just rips your heart out. Like the song about this old lover of the past is, I should look her up and see how she's doing, and finds out she's dead. And it's so good. And I was also just looking back on the concert because I saw him this year, and he was so good. So I listened to it last night, and I was like, this might be number 1. Let's do it again today. I was like, yeah, this is the one.
Even though I'm not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. You're first.
I was just gonna say, even though I'm not really even into like the Sturgill Simpson or that whole scene in general, like I don't know what to call it, so I'm not gonna try to call it anything. But that Johnny Blue Skies album, when I checked it out, was fucking incredible. Like the heartbreak in it is astounding. Yeah,
and he is just such a good guitar player too. The guitar at that show was so good. It was just him, or it was just a 4-piece 3-hour show, no opener, no screens, no nothing, just him, a guitar player, a bassist, a drummer. I mean, he was playing guitar, had another guitar player. They played like the first hour and a half. They didn't even break between songs. They just went into every song. He did One for the Road, which has that sick kind of Pink Floyd-y solo at the end of it. He did that, and then he merged it into a Purple Rain cover. And he's an incredible guitar player as well. So, have
you seen that Guitar Moves YouTube series with him? No. Guitar Moves is a series I've talked about on the pod before, and when I've talked about the pod, I always forget the name of the dude. Matt
Sweeney.
Matt Sweeney, thank you. He's also in an honorable mention album of mine, The Hard Quartet. But Matt Sweeney does a YouTube series called Guitar Moves, where he just sits down with guitar players he likes and just they jam and like talk about guitars. And he did a Sturgill Simpson episode, which is definitely worth checking out. It's a great one. Do you like Charlie Crockett?
I do. I like him. He's got a few songs I really like. I'm pretty into like those old outlaw like Waylon Jennings, Merle
Yeah,
Haggard. So he's a good like nostalgia
he
type of
definitely
guy
is.
for me. Um, but yeah, his he's been kind of blowing up a little bit on the scene.
I did. I was lucky enough to do sound for him one time back in like
Oh, really?
2019, and he was just such a cool guy. Like I ended up just like kind of hanging out with him all night, and he ended up signing a record for me and stuff. And so I've been a
Nice.
big fan of him since then. But he did. He also had two releases this year, but the one I'm more familiar with is $10 Cowboy, and I struggled with $10 Cowboy and the Johnny Blue Skies album, like where to put them in the top 10. And it was just too hard, so I left them as honorable mentions. But
Nice.
yeah, both
Yep.
beautiful albums.
Nice. Cool. All right, Julian, number one.
Well, I'm glad Colin mentioned something earlier about when making his list just kind of being like, I don't really give a fuck, like about about trying to make it any way other than objective, like just really taking a hard look at what just like made you feel the best and not really giving a fuck about the, I guess, demographics of what that looks like.
Oh yeah, my list is fully objective.
So yeah, I would say same here.
Cool.
But yeah, so just going off of that, like trying to not give a shit about explaining to people why I think it is good and stuff like that. I just went off of like what I genuinely liked the most this year and what made me feel the best this year. And that was The Healer by Sumac for me.
Nice.
To a lot of people, and I've definitely gone down this rabbit hole of trying to convince people that Sumac is like fantastic and that they are like breaking the mold and that they're like next level musicians. And I'm not really concerned about that, I guess, at this point. It's more just like I personally fucking loved this record and I can't really describe it in any other way than like if you like the Sumac formula, if you like the ambient noise metal thing, then in my opinion this is just like the absolute best example of that in every way. They've taken a formula that you wouldn't think you could change too much about or like add too much to, and they've just made it like so much deeper and so much more like ethereal and so much more like emotional, even though it's really just heavily relying on being super ambient and super improvised. It was what I spun the most this year, even more than No Name. I think No Name, Spotify said I spent a full day listening to No Name, but I spent a full 3 days listening to May You Be Held, or to The Healer. So I think just the way that I can use it as a palate cleanser and always come back to it, and it's always super different and it always affects me in a different way, is like why I never get tired of it and why it always to me is just like so much more like existentially exciting and better than anything that I listen to. So that's what it is for me. Anyone who like even remotely likes super duper heavy and ambient shit, I say should check this album out, and it would probably be one of the better examples of like ambient metal that's being made at this point in time.
I kind of forgot that album came out this year. I should have guessed that might be your number one, but it is a great album.
I need to. I haven't listened. I remember you talking about it at the midway point. Colin already.
All right, well, I guess we're talking about Colin now.
Yeah. Hijacked. Never mind.
All right, Colin, let's hear it.
I need to listen to that album though.
Yeah,
My number
definitely
one was
check it out.
also Sturgill Simpson, actually. No, it was Brat. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Julian. I was just simply adding the picture to my available virtual backgrounds. I didn't think it'd actually make it my virtual background.
I think it might have.
It turned out it did. My bad.
No, it's okay. I didn't have anything else to say.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Believe it or not, I was done talking.
Okay, here's the real question: 365 by Charlie XCX or 365 by Waxahachie?
365 by Charlie XX.
All right. I'm not surprised by your pick there.
Yeah.
But
Are you going to elaborate at all, or are you blue in the face?
I feel like me? Oh, about Brat?
About Brat, yeah.
Do you guys really want me to?
No.
I don't think so.
I think we know why it's your favorite.
I've talked about it enough.
It's crazy that just if I would have picked all the albums that came out this year, that Charlie XCX would beat Vampire Weekend for you. I don't know if I could have made that call
at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, on January 1st.
The fact that she's in all three of our top 10s, I don't know if anybody would have called that either.
This is why this album is so spectacular. It's because it is such a phenomenon. It's so out of left field for me. It really, I felt myself when this came out trying to come up with reasons I didn't like. I was like, no, I can't be enjoying this album this much. I can't like it this much. It can't. And then as I continued to listen to it, I was like, surely there's music I want to listen to more than Brat by Charlie XCX. But the simple truth of the matter is there wasn't, except for, I guess, Classical by Vampire Weekend. But almost everything else in my most played songs is off of Brat. And when I'm an old man and I look back at 2024, I'll say that's the year I listened to Brat a lot. And
the Brat year
made other people listen to Brat a lot. And I think I'll remember going to Iceland and like really only listening to Brat for 8 hours a day while I was driving in a camper van around Iceland. Then Bjork.
Which is a pretty, that's a pretty, I don't know. That's kind of like how I felt about Chromacopia. When something comes out and you're checking it out, but you're also like in a different place, it kind of just like associates the album and the timeline with the place a bit more. It becomes more like powerful, more sentimental.
I almost had Brat, but it's completely different, but still Brat is my number 10 album. But then I was like, okay, then 4 of my positions are just between 2 artists. I have 2 Smile and 2 Charlie XCX. That's ridiculous. But it's definitely an honorable mention. I like that album a lot. And yeah, I don't know.
I think it would have been funny if somebody had How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb on their list.
Yeah.
I almost thought about making it an honorable mention, but I mean, at the end of the day, I only really give a shit about the remastered tracks. Even the B-sides at this point, I'm kind of already over them.
Yeah.
But I will say, from the last time we talked about it to now, my opinion on the remastered tracks is that I do think they are 100% better than the original tracks. Hot
really?
Take. I do think
all the remasters are better
all of them
the
except for I think All Because of You is the only one that I like the original better.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just they're more rockin', dude. They're more raw. There's more energy to them. I feel like in 2004 they wanted to make a rock record, but then the radio industry, the music business at large was just like, well, it can't be too much because then you'll scare people who are just driving their cars and listening to it on the radio. But now that's like not a thing. Like you can make a rock record sound however the fuck you want it to. So I just think it's cool that it, I guess, is more like it's less fucks given almost.
It's almost like they embraced the thing that made them not be that popular anymore.
True.
Because when that era ended, it's kind of when people stopped giving a shit about you too. And now they're kind of like, well, fuck it. If people don't care anyway, let's just do it the way we want to do it.
Do what we want.
Yeah.
I still haven't done a proper A/B since we did our episode, even though I now have access to both albums. But I do. Yeah. I love the remastered versions across the board. I just don't know if I can say that I like them all more than the originals.
We'll have to do a remastered episode of our How to Reassemble.
A reassembled edition of the
How to Reassemble a podcadzo episode.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait 20 years. But I think that's a proper amount of time to give it. Do you guys want to rattle off any HMs for albums, or have we talked enough about it?
I got a few, just because I did have a top 25. All right, so Tank by Idols. Notebook Fantasy Chicano Batman, All Born Screaming St. Vincent, Lives Outgrown by Beth Gibbons, the Stabbed and Shot by Benny the Butcher album, and 38 Special was really fucking good.
Nice.
Coagulated Bliss, Alistair Cowboy, that is an EP, but it's fucking amazing. Chambers of Anguish is what I was going to say.
Chambers of Anguish.
I listened to that a lot too. That shit was hard.
And then the Coagulated Bliss record by Full of Hell is really good. Through All Chains by Shellac. Alligator Bites Never Heal, Dochi, which it was a very solid record that my girlfriend recommended to me. You Only Die Once, Freddie Gibbs, Flight B471, King Giz, Love Heart Cheat Code by Hiatus Coyote, and then Audio Vertigo by Elbow.
Yeah, I had that Jersey one was an EP as well, so I didn't put it. The Mannequin Pussy you guys talked about, I wanted it on there, but it didn't make it. New Mount Erie record was great. Peeling Flesh. The Peeling Flesh album was a very fun take on the rap rock genre blending that I had a lot of fun with. 21 Savage. I had a lot of 21 Savage on my rap. That came out this year, I think. I did like a lot of songs on that one for it being pretty basic rap music. I just have always enjoyed the
21 Savage is my
21 Savage.
Of the basic rap artist.
He's pretty great. He had some bangers on that one. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for me.
I'll write off a couple. New Sound, Jordy Greep, Liam Gallagher and John Squire, just to stay on brand, even though that album was kind of fucking horrible. Tank by Idols, The Hard Quartet, self-titled, All Born Screaming, St. Vincent. I mentioned these already, but $10 Cowboy and the Johnny Blue Skies album, Blood Incantation, Elbow, Audio Vertigo was on mine too. Shout out Julian for getting me really into that one. And then some local releases, Alistair Cowboy for sure. And our recent guest, Summer of Peril.
Yes.
I really like their album as well.
So yeah.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
It's good stuff.
It's really good.
Shoegaze. So
it's definitely really it's a pretty depressing record, but it's like a fun listen in the sense that it's got a fresh energy to it, and definitely not like any other bands that sound like it around here right now. So it was definitely super fun to listen to that one. I think that's it though. Like, even though the 25 list, like there's a lot of really solid albums on it, I did kind of feel like 2024 was a bit of a sleeper year for really, really good, like a lot of really, really good releases. Like most years, it seems like there's at least 10 like really notable releases, and it's kind of hard to put them all in order. But this year, it was I know which ones are really good, and then the rest of it's kind of just like, yeah, they were records that came out this year.
I wanted the New Justice album to be really good, but it wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be.
That was when I tricked myself into like thinking it was a lot better than it was when it first came out. And people were talking about how good it was a lot when it first came out. And it's not bad, but yeah, it just
like compared to Cross is just one of my favorites ever. So speaking of good live albums, have you listened to Woman Worldwide?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a great, basically like their version of Live 2007. There's some bangers on that one too.
In college, if I had to DJ a party and was being lazy, I would just throw it on that album.
Nice. The song chorus on that album goes so hard.
Yeah. No, Justice. Yeah, definitely. Amazing stuff. Fantana actually kind of talked about this in a recent YouTube video, that just like the sheer amount of music that came out this year was challenging. And because of that, it feels like there should have been so many mega releases. But yeah, there really wasn't a lot of like, for how much came out, it was kind of a low batting percentage.
Has he put his list out yet?
I don't think so.
And most of the better releases, in my opinion, were the ones that didn't have any sort of campaign. Like
Oh no, zero hype.
Chromacopia,
Yeah,
No Name, even
No Name.
Cutouts.
Brett had a little hype, but
Cutouts, there was like 2 singles, but they didn't really say much besides this album's coming out in the fall.
Oh, the new Nails record. That's an HM.
Oh yeah, that record is fucking incredible. Yeah,
true.
I wanted to. I think it already happened a couple weeks ago. They played down in LA with the opener. You ever listen to Scalp?
I've heard
Scalp is a sick. That's a sick hardcore band. Speaking of bands that sound like they're white power bands, but it was them. They played a show with Scalp, and I really wanted to go, but I couldn't make it. But I did enjoy. I thought they hadn't come out with one in a while, so that was nice to hear. Shout out to Nardcore.
Yeah, shout out for sure. Galloway's the one who turned me on to the term Nardcore. And glad you're keeping that life flying.
To Nardcore?
Yeah.
Yeah, Oxnard's like 30 minutes south of here. I go down there a lot for work. Whenever I go down there, I'm like, Nardcore.
Yeah, we did a hardcore episode with Colin Galloway from Alistair Cowboy, and he talked about Nardcore.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He probably knows about Scalp. So
100%, yeah. I don't think
Colin
there's a single band that Colin doesn't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to they have an album called Domestic Extremity that's great, and then a more recent one from last year called Black Tar. Also good. They're pretty heavy and dark, but they're good.
In the Alistair Cowboy, Maddie said that, and I totally agree that whenever I feel like I have cool music taste and listen to hard shit, I just need to talk to Colin. I'm like, I know nothing.
There's a dude at my
very in the know.
There's a dude at my gym like that because I have my gym uniform is always like a hardcore band cutoff tee. So I'll be wearing like a bunch of nails and gold shit. So, and he'll just like come up and talk to me and just make me feel like such a fucking poser because he's like, oh, dude, this band. I'm like, I don't know these bands, dude.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to listen to him.
He did. He turned me on to Weekend Nachos. You guys ever listen to Weekend Nachos? Listen, dude, if you want to listen to something hard, the album Worthless by Weekend Nachos, it's an old one, but it's great as well. They just did a reunion show in LA.
I'm adding it to my library right now.
Yeah.
Check out.
They like invented the term power violence.
Oh, yeah.
Check out the album Them Young Wiggas by Infectious Jelly.
Oh, that's a terrible name for an album.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart.
I saw you put
That's all I'm going to say.
And I couldn't tell if you were serious about it.
It's not the best record I've ever heard, but it is fucking insane, dude. It is terrifying.
Do you guys follow the Hard Times?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Onion. They had a post the other day that was hold on, I sent it to my buddy so I don't fuck it up here. What is it? Oh yeah, guy at black metal show does quick Google search to make sure band aren't Nazis before heading to merch table. I was wearing, and I said this to my friend because I was with this guy. He was in Santa Barbara, and I was wearing a Power Trip shirt, and it said Power Trip in like the Gothic font, and on the bottom it says Hell from Texas. And I didn't notice, but I guess we walked by a table at a restaurant of like some black guys, and they were like laughing at me, and they like thought it was like a white power thing. I was like, ooh, I wonder how often that happens to me because most of the shirts I wear are like hardcore bands. They kind of have that aesthetic a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though they're generally are very progressive people, but
for sure. That's what's funny about that genre. It's like really, opposite sides of the coin. There's zero middle ground there, really. They're not very moderate.
Yeah, that's kind of why, like, I think death metal can be a lot of death metal. Like, seems like it takes itself less seriously to me. Like that, like Peeling Flesh.
Yeah,
is not. They have an album called Human Pudding.
Yeah,
it has like the most disgusting album cover you've ever seen. But it's obvious they're obviously not eating people. So
yeah, leaning into the gore and
yeah,
kind of like a fun horror movie.
Exactly.
I looked up Weekend Nachos, and the first similar artist Apple Music suggested is called Sex Prisoner.
I've never heard of that, but that's a great band name. That's my
Maybe the
only
best
beef with
band
Weekend
ever.
Nachos is I think Weekend Nachos is kind of a shitty name for a hardcore band, but
Yeah.
they are
Great name
Well,
for other music potentially.
Yeah.
But not
now we got to
hardcore.
look up Sex Prisoner.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to them after this.
Nice. Cool.
All right, guys. Well, that was a fantastic deep dive. I feel good now about exiting 2024. I feel like we really put it all out there.
The new year can officially start now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I have to start listening to new shit like right when the new year starts.
My only resolution is for Steely Dan to be firmly in my number one position when we do the Rap 2025 episode. So I'm kind of on the opposite tip.
Better get to work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. I will guarantee you Steely Dan Vampire Weekend will be in my top 5 again next year. Book it when we come back. But
yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on again, guys. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for being on.
Thanks for being here.
That was a good app.
I'm sure you'll be back on soon. Thanks everyone for listening. And we'll do another episode before New Year's, but just in case, have a fantastic holiday season and New Year's. And
hey,
happy Toyotathon.
Little announcement: Christmas is coming around. Just don't forget the reason for the season, guys. Let's just put the Christ back in Christmas here, and everyone make sure to go to church.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
If you don't go to a church, at the very least, call a different church outside of your religion and threaten them instead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Or threaten some people in a different class or gender or race than you.
Yeah, anything's clever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And maybe buy some hardcore merch too.
Yeah, that's for real. Not being sarcastic. Support your hardcore bands because they'll probably all live in a van.
All right. On that note, goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Adios, amigos.
Farewell.
Adios. Farewell.